relative to what Stephan was taking under.
Well,
Taking on. There's actually remarkably less, stuff about Larry. The story is more more important than any one of the specific characters outside of probably Jesse himself. But so for me, I kind of got off lucky. We had like 3 photographs of Larry. There wasn't much. There's like an article here, an article there, an appearance on I think This Is Your Life. When Jesse was on there as a contestant, where so I got to see the way he spoke. But I didn't attack it the way we would go after attack or prepare for impressions on SNL. Like I didn't have to sound like or anything like that. The more I don't think I would have been as keen to take it if I had to pretend to portray someone. There was something about when I first read that script and it was sent to me that I was like, oh, I think I know who this guy is. I just resonated with him and I liked that. I liked what he had to say. I liked that he walked the walk as well. I liked that it was convenient that, for my personal opinion, that he was on the right side of history. But it was nice to not have to lean into that or play with that wink based on the best piece of information that we got on Larry Snyder for my money. It's not in the script and it's not in the movie, but it was Larry. But Stephen Hopkins, the director, gave me when we first met. And it's a quote from Jesse Owens himself in his autobiography saying that Larry was an accidental non-racist. And I was like, yeah, it's funny first because it feels almost like a Yogi Berra kind of like quote, like what does that mean? And it made, it can mean whatever it means to you, but for me it made perfect sense, and I can't even totally articulate it other than as I sort of, the character says, he doesn't care about black, white, or anything, fast or slow, work hard, and I think that's a beautiful sentiment, and one that is all the societal pressure that he was dealing with on that campus, much less the entire nation, at that time, he just bucked all that. He didn't care, and so it was that line more than anything that I felt, connected to, and then once meeting Stephen and the way he sort of saw the character and the way he had the big overall story of obviously good versus evil, but then the very human story and the connection between Larry and Jesse and them being almost like Butch and Sundance or even more convenient probably like 48 Hours or Brian's song, like it had that kind of like connection, and then that was a bond that naturally came. No, I mean he was not allowed to go. Yeah, that's a specific question. I'm not 100% sure. There's more things in here than not that actually happened. That the first like 5 minutes of Steve and I talking was like, did this really happen? Like all this stuff with the German long jumper, all this stuff. I had no idea about the 4th gold medal. Fascinating, and I thought it was relevant just based on the discrimination against homosexuals and the talk of boycott, like in the Russian Olympics. Mm-hmm. That was before that happened. And I was like, oh, this story's still relevant. No way I could have known that by the time the movie was released, how even more relevant it would be, and outside of even just the world. I've done a lot of period pieces in the sense of in sketch form, yeah. But I'm trying to think. I don't spend too much time looking in the rearview mirror these days, but you might be right there. Yeah, I know what me and my family were in Mr. and Mrs. Bridge as extras when it was filmed in Kansas City. It was around the time I was like 13 years old, so it might be my second period. No, are you kidding me? I wanted to dress like Harry Anderson from his Richter days. I wore a fedora as a little boy. I was so excited to wear a fedora because I loved Harry Anderson. So to wear that hat again was a good feeling. But drama, comedy, for me, it's about making whatever ridiculous situation, and there is a way to view what Larry and Jesse go through in this movie as ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about trying to make it as believable to the person I'm acting with, and then the true seer of all, the camera. I'm not paying attention to that. So it's just about moments. I'm used to playing scenes as believable as possible, whether it's smuggling drugs across the Mexican border or murdering bosses, but trying to make it feel real. And those moments, are designed to end with laughter. In dramas, they're designed to just, for whatever reaction. There's a few laughs, a few moments of levity in this very intense movie. There's moments of cheering, there's moments of pause. You're not aiming for that. You're just trying to make it feel real. So it's just about stringing together a series of moments. But my approach to it is no different. Yeah, at some point you sort of have to stop playing. At least my tactic when doing comedies to not perform for laughs. The hope that they're there. I'm not an alt comedian, or I'm not trying to be the next Andy Kaufman. I'm not trying to, but I definitely just wanted to feel.
How did you?
Because one, it's a nice measure against how far we've come in 80 years. First off, and I do believe that with technology, with internet, with all these things, with the expediency that we can connect with the other human beings these days, I don't think it'll take another 80 years for the seismic shift that occurs between where this film started and when this film's coming out. The origin of the true story. So I remain optimistic and hopeful about that. But I do believe that it is, it's very interesting to see this young man put in the same position where people are encouraging him to do this based on this point of view, encouraging him to do this based on that point of view. The debates that go on between, William Hurt and Jeremy Irons' characters, I assume are going on in rooms, not just in Hollywood, but on college campuses all over this country. And they have been for many, many months, and may they go on for many, many, months more, and hopefully, for not much longer, and that the wounds, slowly and surely heal as they do when people truly empathize and talk to each other and try to see each other from one another's point of view. I think it's a hopeful story, and even though it ends like on a little bit of like, are you kidding me? Did that really happen? That whole Waldorf Astoria? I do believe there is a glimmer of beautiful little art there that at least the guy, the doorman, knows it sucks. At least there's that look in his eye that's like. I don't think Jesse would have let him. No, I mean he even said no. He doesn't even want me to get mad about it. He's like, yeah. It was great. That is a special young man. I think I'm happy that he chose to use his gifts and he's given the platform to share that specialness with other people, because I think he's going to be a good role model for people. He is cool as the other side of the pillow. He's cool as a fan. Whatever old saying you want to say about a guy that just has his act together and has a tremendous amount of poise and works really hard. He's ugly as hell, so that's a knock. But no, it was like when I read the script, meet with Stephan, hear how his point of view and the way he wants to tell the story. Because it wasn't an immediate yes. I wanted to, but you never know, because there's so many. It's a collaborative effort. It's a team effort. So someone could be a ball hog, and then oh boy, I guess we're going to lose by 40 every game. Then I asked to see who's going to play Jesse, and Stephan James, there I am. I was like, can I watch his audition? They were gracious enough to let me be privy to that, and I watched the audition. I was like, oh, he can make me feel this, and I can see it in his eyes, like in this a room like this with a casting director. And I was like, this makes sense to me to do, and choosing to do a job with that, with intention and with the thoughtfulness I attempt to put into every selection, even goofy movies like Hall Pass or something. There's still an intention and a point of view that I have to sort of see expressed by the people creating the movie. That whether people, the viewers get out of it is out of my control. But when I saw what was going on there, it was a yes, and then through that intention, it was a very special experience for us to go through, and he and I verbalized a number of times about, like, how did we get here? Which is probably not too dissimilar than the conversations that Jesse and Larry had themselves. And the answer to that, in a lot of ways, to be quite honest with you, is talking to people that know about films, is because it was independently financed. This is forget about like what the actual thing. Think about the process of the movie. This movie was no studio made this, and so you're talking about getting awards and recognition for movies even that have been made. What about movies that aren't being made? This being one of them that eventually did get made, but it had to be financed by the Canadians and French folks, and it's like it's an international human story that we only got this opportunity because it was independent. Because they would have gone for. I'm not anywhere as bankable as Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence would have played Larry Snyder and would have been through the studio system, and I bet she looks great in fedora. So like we can play and she'd be fun to watch. But that's one of those things that we were like, couldn't believe we got this opportunity to be vessels to bring this amazing story back to the spotlight.
I was good.
No, because I got it. Like I was lucky enough to, play sports in Kansas City, which is a very diverse town. And so I've been lucky to be surrounded by different races my entire life. Like I'm one of those, suburban white kids that bought straight out of Compton, and that made that forced that revolution, that album specifically, and that group, which we all know mostly more now from the movie, because that shift. Like I've always been, keen into it. When I saw Eddie Murphy, in Beverly Hills Cop, it didn't matter to me that he was black. He was just a cool guy who was avenging, his best friend's murder, and it was for me personally. He was just the funniest, coolest guy in the world, and the fact that he was black was like secondary to his spirit, and I feel that every bit of my point of view that I already I brought that to Larry. Larry and I were simpatico in that when I doesn't make it right. I mean, he is speaking what Jesse is saying there. He's speaking towards white privilege without saying, this phrase we see in quotation marks in a lot of articles these days. And yet Larry knows from the intention, and Jesse knows the intention that Larry's coming from, and how it really doesn't matter to him. That's where the accidental non-racist comes from. Like it's almost like Larry was like one of the great things that I believe in this film is that, and this is speaking, I'm not going off topic here, but is the mentoring that Larry does for Jesse, seeing something in Jesse that Jesse may not allow himself to see in himself, based on, again, like where he's coming from, his financial background, just him giving the idea of, would you want to run in the Olympics? And he's like, like you see it in Stephan plays it, I think, very well. That's like the same thing like when Tina Fey's husband Jeff Richmond asked me if I would ever audition for SNL. I know it's very different, as far as like changing the world, but it made me think, wait a minute, but no, my heroes are on SNL. Like I can't be on it. No, come on. But it put the thought in my head, and change comes from a thought. So that's Larry giving Jesse this thought, seeing something more in himself. But then when Jesse, is asking about when it comes down to I couldn't be at practice. I didn't know you had a daughter. You never asked. That's Jesse mentoring this coach who was almost robotic in his lack of concern with race or anything. To like, I'm a human being though, man. So like, you got to meet me halfway. And so when that tide switched, that's when that friendship came. And it's through that friendship and this one man's support of another man's gifts, and the two of them working together and going through that with just eyes wide open and their hearts wide open, that led to a thought that changed the world. Like skills, natural ability, who knows where I'd be. I do these press conferences every night if I was a better athlete, right? But basketball was my sport. Yeah. So I started in 4th grade, but high school through college for a couple of years. So I was lucky to have coaches and pull from that experience. But then also the mentors that I had, like Jeff Richmond and Tina Fey and like Lauren Michaels. But and wanting to be that at this point, but obviously for our little boy, but then for other artists, like that's why I'm excited to move into helping produce shows for people and use the little bit of name recognition that I have, if people can even pronounce it, like to help people that I believe have talent and give a damn about the work and want to work really hard and get better and better and enjoy the spoils of free sneakers and that perhaps come with it.